and welcome back to Mobility Matters. I'm your host, Javier Betancourt, Executive Director of the Citizens Independent Transportation Trust, or CITT. We're the quasi-independent agency of Miami-Dade County, charged with overseeing your half-penny sales tax for transportation. So I am a staff member of the CITT, a professional who gets paid to do this work, and very privileged to do so. But the real heart of the CITT is the 15, now 17-member Board of Volunteers that actually composes the Citizens Independent Transportation Trust. We have one appointed by the mayor, one by the League of Cities, 13 by each of the county commissioners, and recently 2 new additions, one to be appointed by the Transportation Planning Organization, or TPO, and one to be appointed by the CITT membership itself. So I am really happy to welcome to this program one of those trust members, the one representing the Miami-Dade County League of Cities, member Kenneth Kilpatrick. Member Kilpatrick, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much for this opportunity, man. Finally, we get to sit down and talk.
I know. We've been trying to get you on here for a while. The stars finally aligned, and here you are.
Here we are. Thank you.
So, Ken, if people are watching this, they may see you, and they're like, I know that guy from somewhere. I can't put my finger on it. And that's because you have been involved in our community for a very long time. In fact, you and I first met and worked together. I don't want to say how many years ago because it's going to age us, but a long time ago, you and I in different capacities. I think I was just starting my career as an urban planner.
That's right.
At the Regional Planning Council.
That's right.
And you were working, I forget for which group, but it was Brownsville Charette.
Model City,
right?
That's right.
Model City, that's what it was, the Model City Charette.
That's right.
My role at the time was simply to keep you guys happy and bring you food. But you had a much more prominent role, I believe, as chair of that.
That's right.
But
I remember those were good days, man.
Yeah,
I remember we went out of our way. We said we want the South Florida Regional Planning Council.
Yeah.
So no, you got to use Treasure Coast. And no, we want South Florida. So we lobbied for you guys for when you were South Florida Regional Planning Council.
That's great.
For you guys to come and be a part of the plan. And it worked out.
That was a great experience.
Yeah.
It really was.
Yeah.
And among other things, I had the pleasure of meeting you. And then several years passed, and you and I probably didn't see each other. Right. And then, lo and behold, you became a member of the Transportation Trust, and now we get to work together again.
Here we go. Here we go.
Tell us a little bit about yourself. As I mentioned, you're involved in many groups and have been throughout your life. Tell us some of those roles you're involved in now.
So I'm the president of Brownsville Civic Neighborhood Association. That association was founded in 1938. It's one of the oldest associations in the state. And that association also is credited with the 1946 Supreme Court ruling that eliminated race-based zoning.
Wow.
So Brownsville in particular only went up to about 50th Street in North Central Dade. And then after that Supreme Court ruling, it expanded north to about 62nd Street.
And so, it's largely an unincorporated area, right? Or
all of Brownsville is unincorporated Dade. Yeah. So for
now.
Yeah, right.
We'll get into your other role in a second.
Exactly, right. So as a part of the association, the presidents before me were like Jefferson Reeves Sr. It was co-founded by Neil Adams Sr., who was one of the first black commissioners in the history of Miami-Dade County. So it's a very rich history with the association. Very proud to be a part of it. Very proud to be president. So that's one of the things that I do. Another thing that I do, my day job is executive director of the Georgia Heirs Alternative Programs. That program provides alternatives to incarceration for nonviolent offenders, adult and youth. It's a pretrial release, pretrial intervention, pretrial rehab a group that works very closely with the criminal justice system, very closely with the Department of Corrections to provide no cash bail alternatives to individuals who ordinarily couldn't afford to get out of jail. So very proud of that work as well. That was founded by Georgia Heirs, who was one of the premier iconic activists in our community. And back in the 1960s, she started some of the first police community relations, boards and camaraderies that lasted into the 70s and into the 80s. And then we all remember the 1980 Arthur McDuffie riot. Mm-hmm. So Ms. Ayers was already prominent in the community. She was already on the streets when that riot was happening. And Janet Reno, who then was the Miami-Dade State Attorney, got with Ms. Ayers. They consolidated several ex-offender programs and started this program, which is that no cash bail alternative. And I think, and I don't want to go too long into it, but I love what the program does because there's so many ex-offender programs, which means, when folks come out of jail or come out of prison, they need programs, social services, things that will get them back on track. What this program does is it gives the individual an opportunity to go back to work, back to the community, back to their families, and it avoids or usurps the felony conviction.
Okay.
So this is very, very important because, once you're convicted, there are housing problems, there are problems with...
Oh, it's very challenging.
Exactly, exactly. So things like... on May 6th, shameless plug, next month, May 6th, which is about 2 or 3 weeks out, we're actually celebrating our 40th anniversary.
Wow, congratulations.
Yeah, so...
the big 4-0.
Yeah, man. So we're very happy about that. We're getting those invitations out. Of course, you're going to get one. We want to see you there. It's going to be at the Richard Gersten Courthouse, courtroom 41.
Okay.
So very excited about that, very excited about the work that we're doing and, what we're going to be doing moving forward. The other thing that I do, I'll shut up, I promise.
No, it's okay. That was the question, so
yeah, I know, right? I'm chair of the North Central Dade Municipal Advisory Committee. Mm-hmm. That is a committee that's put together, for those who don't know, it's the agent. Not the agency, it's the committee that meets to explore incorporation of an unincorporated area. That's the best way to summarize it that I could think of.
Yeah, so when people see, so Pinecrest, Palmetto Bay, Cutler Bay, some of these communities that were incorporated not too long ago, although time has now passed, they all started off as this committee to explore. And that's part of the process.
Yeah. So we're very excited about the opportunity. We've already started the study. The study started in July of last year, and we have until January of next year to complete the study. We're trying to add areas that have not ordinarily been in the study area. This is probably the longest standing MAC, Municipal Advisory Committee, probably in the county's history. This started back in 2002 or so. And so we're in 2026, and we're still trying to get it done. It's really a 2-year cycle. And for whatever reason, right before the MACs before us, before the group that's sitting now, right before we can get to getting the study, to the commission to get it on the ballot, something happens. Right. So...
Yeah, it's a complex process, right? And there are complex issues behind it.
Right.
There are advantages and disadvantages to incorporating, and so you need to weed through all of that. There are fiscal impacts to the county, right?
That's right.
So it is complex, and it does take a long time. I imagine that includes the Brownsville area. Are there other communities that are within that study area? That's
a great question. So the Brownsville community actually is responsible for bringing the MAC back, right, because it had sunset. Mm-hmm. And so the folks in Brownsville, we thought it'd be a great idea to use this vehicle to keep us away from the prospect of annexation.
Right.
And so, it doesn't matter what city wants to annex you. It's not as good as incorporating if you have to make a choice. Right. So
you want to be in control of your own destiny.
Yeah,
you want to maintain the neighborhood character, all those things.
Yes, that's absolutely right. So incorporation, to me, is a no-brainer if it's feasible. And so that's what this study does. It weeds out, how much it's going to cost for municipal services, and then it weighs that against, what you are paying now in millage and how much it's going to cost in terms of, how many mills are you going to have to pay to operate a city. Yeah. So the area right now is about 69,000 in terms of population.
Good size.
Yeah, right. And so we're trying to expand.
We have various cities, many cities that are much smaller.
Smaller, right? And so we're trying to now expand that to include all of Brownsville.
Okay.
If we can get that done, that'll add at least another 18,000 to the population count. And so that would, of course, it would mean more services, but, I think, with the per capita in terms of property value, I think that'll balance out quickly.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, perhaps in a few years I'll have you back on the program as mayor of this new city. Remember, Mayor Kilpatrick. I like the sound of that.
Me too, right? For me, a lot of people say that, but I'm not really focused on that at all. It could go, a totally different direction. It could be a group of folks that, none of us know, who could end up being your first mayors and council people, and that's fine. I think for us, it's about getting the community on the best platform as possible, so that we can move forward, independently and with as much control as we can muster. And I think this is the best vehicle to do that.
Excellent. And I know those are just a few of the hats you wear. You wear many others, but we don't have 3 hours here. So
yeah, I know.
So how did all those different kind of experiences and all those different civic engagements lead you to the Transportation Trust? How did you learn about the CITT, and what drove you to want to be a part of it? And how did you get appointed?
So the first exposure to CITT in the surtax to have Penny was, I believe, back in 2003 or 4, when there was a very strong effort that was then led by, I believe, the group UPPAC in North Miami. I think Miami Gardens had just incorporated, or was on the verge of. They were right there on the cusp of incorporation. But the North Corridor Metro Rail extension to the stadium, and that effort, which I believe was about 2003, between 2003 and 2007, there was a really, really strong push. I think there was a community advisory committee of about 300. There were a lot of people. Every group from Model City, which is where Brownsville is, up to County Line Road, where today is Miami Gardens. Everybody was involved in it, so we were no different, and we wanted to make sure that whatever came out of North Corridor was going to include the communities that already had Metro Rail, but was still along 27th Avenue. So we wanted to, make sure that if there was some TOD or whatever it was that could be realized, that that happens for our community. So that's
the project ultimately benefit the community it's serving, right?
Yeah, at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So fast forward a million years later, and just talking with some folks in the community. Actually, the past chair, Oscar Brainan, was the one who kind of asked to talk to me about it, and we had been talking for years about Metro Rail in the North Corridor. So I think he knew that I was familiar with some aspects of it, and thought I'd be a good addition. And we talked then to Rodney Harris. Mayor Harris was then chair of the League of Cities, and the appointment was open, and that's how I got on.
That's how you got on. And so you've been a member for several years now. And
2003, December 2023, I'm sorry.
And I will say perhaps it's because of your, long civic engagement that you really started making an impact right away. We have some members who are kind of new to this business, and it takes them a while to learn the ropes.
Right.
Transportation is complex. There's a complex history around the halfpenny.
Right.
But you kind of came in already with a wealth of knowledge and experience in civic engagement. And so just want to say that you've been a great addition,
Thank you, sir.
and you bring a lot to the trust. And now you're chair of the municipal committee. So
Yes.
What does that entail?
Let me tell you, I'm so proud to be a part of that. The Municipal Services Committee of the CITT basically is, ensuring that the municipalities are using their portions of the surtax dollars properly, and then getting feedback from the municipalities to see how things can be enhanced or to make that experience better. But it's a part of, as you know, the oversight that the CITT is tasked with in terms of ensuring that those dollars are spent properly.
Yeah, and for people who don't know, so that halfpenny generates somewhere in the neighborhood of $450 million a year, which is a significant chunk of change. Halfpenny doesn't sound like a lot, but it adds up, right? And the cities get about 20% of that, and we distribute it to the cities on a pro rata basis. So, larger cities with larger populations get more money, smaller cities get less. But our role is to make sure that money is spent appropriately, and you're in charge of that now. So it's all on you.
Thank you.
And you're doing a great job of that. I know that one of the things we're exploring at that committee, something you seem to be passionate about, is this idea of a transportation management associations, or TMAs.
Yeah.
What is it about that idea that you're excited about?
The TMAs. Well, first of all, when you research it a little bit, you see that there are TMAs already in Broward. Mm-hmm. There's already TMAs in Palm Beach and all over the place. So,
but not here in Miami-Dade. Yeah.
But not here in Miami-Dade. So I'm thinking, let's play catch up. So I'm glad that there is one already on the table. I believe in pilot form. Coral Gables in South Miami, I believe it is.
Right.
And so, but I believe that there are other areas in the county. I know that there was talk one time of downtown Miami being a very good destination for a TMA, and I think that the north part of Miami-Dade would be another excellent area that we should explore at one point. Just because, between downtown Miami and North Dade, you have all the stadiums. You have the Marlins Stadium. You have the new Inter Stadium. You have the Hard Rock Stadium, right? You have the airport. You have the seaport. You have Opelika Airport. So you have a lot of economic engines, a lot of destinations.
Large employers. Yeah.
Exactly. So to me, it's a no-brainer. And I really love the fact that TMAs allow for the private sector to get involved, roll up their sleeves, and get to the same table.
Yeah.
I think that's excellent. And it's something that I'm surprised. I would think that Dade County would be the one that had all the TMAs, and Broward and Palm Beach would be like, "Whoa, well, what are you guys doing?" But it's kind of back. So, I'm hoping that, in particular, Board of County Commissioners, that they get the tick, and that the momentum starts there, maybe in Transportation Committee, and then we can, be able to, actually fund it, right, and move it forward. So.
Yeah, and we've talked about the TMAs here on previous programs, but for those who may not know, it's essentially a small nonprofit that's created that pulls in the public, private, and nonprofit sectors to collaborate around transportation issues, right? They're generally centered around a large employment center, so a university, the stadium, the Hard Rock. I mean, that's become a 365-day destination. It's no longer just a few football games, right?
That's right.
That thing is busy all the time.
All the time.
But it also has
Huge
crazy
events.
transportation impacts.
Yeah, that's right.
And so bringing in all those partners to kind of collaborate and figure these things out together, and in some cases even provide a service jointly, whether that's a on-demand service like Freebie or a trolley or whatever the case may be. So I think it's very exciting, and I know you do as well. So let's see where that goes.
I'm excited, man. I hope that I really hope that gains momentum.
So let's talk about the area. I know you represent the League of Cities and not necessarily the district, but you're heavily involved in that district.
Right.
You know the transportation challenges, and some of the solutions we're working towards. Let's talk about the area and what are some of those transportation challenges, and what should we be doing to address them?
Well, I think that
outside of a TMA,
no, but as you know, I've been a stickler on the North Corridor extension. So the transportation challenges, especially on the north end of the county, have been, how do I get to these major economic hubs, destinations? How do I get to these major entertainment hubs and destinations? And when you think about a stadium, for example, like Hard Rock is such an international draw. It's such a. I mean, you have the World Cup.
Yeah,
It's got 7 games here. Is that it? Right.
F1. I mean,
Formula One,
tennis,
Miami Open.
a little bit of football here and there.
Yeah, right. So you got the Dolphins. You have you've got Super Bowls are going to be coming back here. The national championship game was here, and to me, to not have that Metro Rail be able to get people there is a little bit of an embarrassment, right? Because Miami-Dade is, to me, the crown jewel of Florida.
Yeah.
Nobody's better than Miami-Dade. We're it, right? Population-wise, technologically, we're it, right? So to not have that piece in place, is just very discouraging.
Yeah, we talk about Miami being a world-class city, right? A global city. Well,
Correct.
World-class city deserves and requires a world-class transit system.
A world-class transit system, that's right.
And, and I don't want to speak ill of the transit system. It's a good one. And we've done a great job with what we have. But it can be and should be so much more, right? And that's why the half penny was approved by the voters in 2002, precisely to expand our transit system.
Exactly.
And let's face it, it's been a challenge to do so.
Yeah. But I think it's long overdue. It's been 49 years, right, since it was supposed to touch the Broward County line.
Yeah, because the North Quarter actually predates the half penny even.
That's
by
correct.
Decades.
Yeah, by decades. That's right. So we're really hoping now that I actually heard something very encouraging at our last CITT meeting, where I think DOT said that they're looking at an incremental, strategy in terms of moving forward. Not in terms of study, because studies are incremental, within itself, but the actual implementation of it. If you could, have a couple stations, at a time, right, that you could prioritize instead of looking at 10 miles. Right? You look at 10 miles and, that's $4 billion. Well, I don't think so, right? So maybe, a few stations, let's get us up to Miami-Dade College North. Let's get us there and, let's reassess, right? And from that point, but, let's start in increments. So if that's something that actually moves forward, that would be a huge victory for Miami-Dade County.
Yeah, I think we all know that there are fiscal challenges, right? Even more so as time seems to go on.
Right.
The projects are getting more expensive. We have less revenue coming in. That's not a good combination. And so we have to be creative about how we move these projects forward, whether that means doing it incrementally or looking at different technologies or different modes.
Yeah.
I think FDOT, which is leading that particular corridor, is exploring some of those other possibilities.
And we also have to have at least a discussion about the other half of the penny.
Yeah.
We have to at least talk about it.
Yeah, Broward has a full penny.
I was just about to say
I'm
that.
Super envious of Broward County. I have penny envy, and so I think we have to prove ourselves first, though, right? And so, but we're doing so. I think we just launched Metro Express in South Dade, which is a rapid transit project. We did expand Metro Rail to the airport.
Right.
I'd love to see Northeast Corridor come online because that's low-hanging fruit.
Right.
The tracks are already there. Thank you,
That's
Brightline. Just need to get the state to provide some of that funding that they unfortunately took out of the budget last year. Yeah. So if we can get the Northeast Corridor done and having proven success on the South Corridor and the airport, I think the community at that point can trust that the county is using the half penny as it was intended, and perhaps then approve another half to complete the rest of the SMART plan, right?
Yeah. So I can agree with you. The other part of that is, we found out also at our last MAC meeting, DTPW came out and they gave a presentation, as they should in other departments. So we've been hearing from departments since October or so, right, of last year. And so one of the things that we learned was that there was a House bill in 2019 that sort of changed the game in terms of how transportation dollars can be spent in unincorporated areas, right? So to me, I'm saying, that's what happened, right? But, simultaneously I'm going, okay, good, right? I want the people to hear that. I want the people to know that there's a Florida statute in place that will prohibit you from enjoying the same amenities, the localized priorities that a city that may, the boundary may just be across the street. So you're looking at trolleys and freebies and, all these public work projects that you're seeing going up, a few blocks from you. But the difference between you and your unincorporated status is you're unincorporated. You don't have that localized priority and you're not paying into it. So,
so just to clarify that, so the cities get a share of the funds that they can use towards things like trolleys and on-demand.
Right.
Unincorporated, even though it kind of acts as a city, UMSA,
right.
It's not officially a municipality, and so it doesn't get that share of the funds.
That's right.
That it can put towards those types of services.
Yeah, so things like that come out, to me, should be the motivation, for folks to do a few things, right? You have to mobilize your dollars. You have to use them, wisely. You know what I mean? Don't pay into a system that can take your dollars, 30 miles south, right? Which, if you're in an unincorporated day, that can happen. And transportation priorities are no different, right? So there's a regional priority in unincorporated areas where there's a localized priority in municipalities, and I think maybe God wanted me to be municipal services chair just to be able to sit in the seat and know that and learn that.
Yeah.
Because we want to become that 35th city, but countywide, I'm hoping that Dade County, back to TMAs, will have TMAs all over the place because, again, you can bring out those private partners within those municipalities who can roll up their sleeves, and we'll be that world-class city, I think, if we start implementing things like that. So I'm very excited about that as well.
Excellent. It's good to remain optimistic, even in some pessimistic times.
Right.
So believe it or not, 30 minutes go by really fast.
Oh, wow,
so, we're almost towards the end here. What has your experience been like as a trust member? Would you encourage those who are interested in transportation to apply? I know we have several vacancies and maybe some coming up. What are your thoughts on your service on the CITT? Has it been worthwhile?
Oh, let me tell you, this has been one of the greatest experiences that I've had. I've served on several boards. I've been chair of several boards. So I've been able to control the temperament and everything. But this transportation trust has been it's the most well-organized machine that I've ever been a part of. So I would encourage individuals, and it turns out that you don't have to be a transportation scholar to come and serve. You will learn plenty, once you become a part. So I encourage individuals, if you're just, if you're involved in your community, if you care about transportation, which you absolutely should, regardless of where you're from, regardless of the part of Miami-Dade County you're in, if there's an opening in your area, if your commissioner has an opening, absolutely apply.
Yeah.
And see if you can get that appointment.
And I would say apply anyway, right? So even if a seat is currently not vacant,
that's a good point.
Open up from time to time. We keep applications on file. So we encourage you, if you're interested in being a member of the CITT, to apply today. If you want to learn more, visit our website, miamidade.gov/CITT, to learn more about the expectations and how to apply.
Excellent. That's right.
Ken, what's next for you?
Oh boy,
because you're not doing enough already.
No, just sometimes the smaller things, the local things are the big things. We're proud. This Saturday we're going to be hosting our community association meeting in Brownsville. We're going to be celebrating the 100th birthday of one of our pioneers, Mr. Ernestine Williams. So I'm very excited about that. We're going to have a big cake there for 100, right?
They got to put him on that Smucker's jar on. I think it's the Today Show or something, one of those guys.
No, but she has been, she's been one of the, pioneers, and her family is one of the legacy families in Brownsville. So very happy and very excited about that. I want to give folks the opportunity who want to be a part of what's going on in Brownsville. Our website is www.mybcna.com, mybcna.com. If you're there, once you're there on the website, there's actually a petition that is circulating, just general support from the community to add Brownsville to the North Central Dade Municipal Advisory Committee. So we're asking folks to support that effort as well.
Excellent. And Ken, if they want to learn more about the Alternatives Program?
Oh, excellent. So go to www.tap, that's T as in Tango, A as in Apple, P as in Papa, Florida, the whole word, .org. That's tapflorida.org to learn more about the alternative programs.
And again, to learn more about the CITT and potentially apply to become either a CITT member, like Mr. Kilpatrick, or a CITT ambassador, something you could also learn about on our website. Visit miamidade.gov/CITT. So, Ken, I want to thank you for being on this program finally.
Thank you. Yeah,
we've been working on this for a while.
Yeah.
But more importantly, I want to thank you for what you do. You have dedicated your life to your community, wearing those multiple hats. And I look forward to calling you mayor or commissioner someday because I see the trajectory.
From your lips to God.
And really, you're just a stand-up guy, and I really appreciate you.
No, so thank you for this opportunity, and thank you, man, for the work that you've been doing. You've been around for a long time as well, and you deserve to be right where you are. And so thank you for all the work that you've done as well, man.
Those kind words.
Yes,
I
sir.
appreciate you. Folks, that's all the time we have here on Mobility Matters. I want to thank you for tuning in. If you like this program, please share it amongst your friends and follow us. We have a number of guests lined up that will be of interest to you. That's all the time we have here, so I'm going to go ahead and close out, and we'll see you next time. But in the meantime, keep moving, Miami.